Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Are you truly getting what you want out of life? As I delved into the personal development world, learning neurolinguistic programming, Ericksonian hypnosis, timeline therapy, and other healing arts, I began to realize what my purpose was for myself. It was essentially I came to a period of time in my life where I wasn't getting what I wanted out of life. And that's what I do for others now. A lot of people they'll get stuck. So, okay. One thing I learned in one of my psychology classes in college was they say the average person generally shuts down about the age or before the age of 25. The music will go down in about 10 seconds. So I found it to be really interesting because at the time I was in college and I was working and I was on the kickboxing team. I was competing around the nation against even from people from other countries. So I was competing from people from Europe, from Mexico, from Canada, etc., etc. And one of my ventures was I got into what's called a leg kicking fight, because in the United States kickboxing was a thing in Southeast Asia and parts of Europe. They did something called Muay Thai, leg kicks, etc., elbows, knees, and it was a little bit more scary. So I had been training in Muay Thai for quite a while, and then there was this one fight where this guy said, "No, I'm only going to fight you," and he changed the rules literally right before the fight. It said, "No, I'm not going to fight you unless we do leg kick fights," and I'd never done that before. And I was kind of scared, but my coach, Jacob Stitz-Duran, you should Google that guy. He's really, really famous in boxing and kickboxing and Muay Thai world. And he's been in 5 different blockbuster movies. Rocky movies is what he's been in. And the other one, I can't remember the name right now. Anyway, so the thing about it is I was kind of like, I went back to college when I was about 21, 22. So I was around 24, 25. And I remember learning about this. And here I was, I think at 27, 28 years old, it just seemed like I was just non-stop going after things. And facing my fears was really one of the most important things in the world to me. It's why I got into boxing. It's why I got into kickboxing. It's why I joined the football team. It's why I went airborne infantry. The whole thing, the reason why I joined the military is I wanted to jump out of planes because I had an absolute fear of heights. Now, at the time, I didn't realize it, but I had this kind of unconscious rule that I realized during a Tony Robbins seminar. And that rule came out. It was, if I'm afraid of it, I have to do it. I am giving you one of my most powerful strategies to living an exciting life. If you're afraid of it, then you have to do it. The exhilaration, the excitement, the growth, the learning, the development that you will gain from doing that is absolutely insanely incredible. Now, I remember diving into the NLP world and Ericksonian hypnosis world. I didn't do it because I wanted to become this life coach and this therapist and healer. I did it because my best friend died when I was 19, and I was having some real issues for the first time in my life. Like, I couldn't deal with things very well, and I was afraid, and I was hurt, I was sad, and this went on for a while. Like, hey, I gotta get out of this. I gotta get back on track, man. I gotta get back into sports and back into college, and time was passing by. So turns out I just happened to be built for doing this kind of work. In fact, during the trainings, Dr. Tad James came up to me, probably like the 2nd, 5th week training we did, and he said, "Hey," he goes, "you're a natural." He goes, "You were built for this." And I heard that a couple times from him and then a couple of the other top trainers in this training we were at, and I heard it again at trainers training, etc., etc. And I kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, it's nice, because I didn't really realize it at the time. I didn't understand what they meant until many, many years after, decades actually. And fortunately, I gained an addiction to studying NLP, psychology, human behavior. Like, I just dove right into it. So here's where I'm at right now in life, and I think this is going to help you. So I'm now going through a phase of understanding avoidance and studying them like like my life depends on it. And it's kind of like this. I met someone and I knew by the third meeting because she had said something. Man, this is talking about cryptic. I said, don't worry about it. I'll help you to heal. Now, at this point, she didn't know what I did for a living. And she kind of laughed. She goes, yeah, maybe you're the one who needs the healing. And I knew right then and I was like, oh, no, here we go again. I knew something was going to come up and it was going to hurt, but I was going to learn a lot from it. So I was very, 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 very conscious of aware of this, that we were meant to meet, that this was supposed to happen. And it wasn't even like, oh, boyfriend, girlfriend thing. It was just like, okay, here we go. I'm going to go through another one of those, what do they call it, the dark night of the soul or tower collapses or whatever you call it. And it was going to hurt, and I was like, okay, just go with it. And it did hurt. But damn, did I learn a lot. Something very important. So one thing, and this really isn't the learning, it was a realization. I've had this realization for quite a while, more than a decade, but this was one that was probably the clearest. Like, yep, it's like we're in a video game, and this is the next level. And I'm realizing right now, the last two videos that I just made before this one, this is what this realization is about. Like, this is the next level. It's kind of like, okay, when I was a kid, my friend used to play Donkey Kong. It was a video, you go to the video arcade, and we all played it, but he just was hooked on it. And there's levels, so you got to, go through all these obstacles, not get killed, like the little Mario guy. And Donkey Kong's throwing barrels at you and doing all, so you gotta duck under, jump over, avoid them. And then on the way up, you get points or whatever, right? You get bonuses and you get points, ding, 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 and you get all these points. And then once you get to the top, you go to the next level. Well, the one thing about him, and there was one other guy that came in, he was doing this like world record thing, and he broke the record. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't even know there were these levels. So my friend Marlon was the first one. He went past like what we thought was the highest level, and then it's like, wait, what is this? And they're like, there's another level past. I don't remember if it was level 10 or 20 or 100 or whatever, but all of us were like, there's another level to this? Like, we're like, holy shit, like no one even heard of this. Well, yes, there are other levels, and then they made like the advanced Donkey Kong, I forget what it was called, but there's another another game on another level that has more levels on top of that. So dealing with this avoidant, experiencing this, I realized, okay, it was, okay, I don't know, for a lot of you on this channel, I understand you came because of narcissist abuse, but I think some of you started to realize, like, wait a minute, actually that person was not a narcissist, they were an avoidant. So I started this video series out, this video and the last two videos, with the, what's the word I'm going to use? With the perception of, now what I'm revealing right now is something that's being revealed to me as I'm talking to you, especially in this video and the last one I just made, is I started out with the video, two videos before this, of saying, hey, I think it's time for us, those of us who put up the Great Wall of China and went into isolation for 4 or 5 years, I think it's time to be understanding again, because that's one thing about empaths, like, we want to understand everybody. Everyone is like, no matter how mean they are, oh, well, they didn't really mean it because they had a bad day at work. Like, we're looking behind, like, why did they hurt me? Why did they attack me? Oh, it's not because they meant to hurt me. That wasn't their intention. The intention is they had a bad day at work and they couldn't help it. And so we learned, like, well, no, that bullshit's got to stop. So for 4 or 5 years, we kind of reevaluated everything. We went into isolation, but my perception of the video 2 videos ago was like, hey, I think it's time to lower our walls a little bit, not all the way, and start to watch people and try to be understanding of what's going on behind what they're doing, okay? And I feel really, really good about this. I think the difference is there's boundaries now. There's like limits. And if someone is psycho or mean, or they have real bad energy, or just even an energy or personality that I don't want to be around, I don't have to deal with them. And I'm not telling you that you have to deal with someone from your past or someone that's mean or abusive or toxic. So now I'm in this video and I'm starting to question our avoidance unconscious master teachers on how to heal abandonment wounds and other emotional issues. Now, I don't think they realize it. I don't think like they're walking like, okay, I came here to do this on purpose and I'm going to watch these people get hurt and watch them grow. No, I think they're unconscious. I think it was programmed into them by their parents or maybe by God or whatever, whether we're in a video game or not. But I came to a very clear awareness, like, it was before I even got to it. I was like, okay, this is just another level. And it literally is like we're in a freaking Donkey Kong game of life. And they're kind of like one of the characters in the video game. I think nowadays we'd call them NPC, non-player characters, where they're kind of a character where they don't even realize that they're doing what they're doing. And yet, because they have the rules, beliefs, strategies, and programs that they have, it's like they're master teachers of the next level. They're trying to get us to understand one thing. So, okay, I got it. So I believe we as a world just went through this really bizarrely narcissistic video game level where everyone started accusing everyone of being a narcissist, like your boyfriend has a different family or value or social value or relationship value. Oh, he's a narcissist because he's different. That's wrong. And instead of saying it's different, because a lot of people, like, you were raised in your culture, like, okay, I'm from Napa Valley. Trust me. You're going to be like, oh, you're an American. No, I'm a Napa Valley American, and we are different. And I don't want to go too much into it, but because I moved away from Napa when I was younger, came back, and then moved away again, and then went back, we're different. I'm going to give it away a little bit. Napa is very prideful, and we are very proud of the winery industry, and we do not like other people like, oh yeah, we're what do they call it? The wine valley, the wine country. And we're like, what are you talking about? You're not wine country. You're not part of Napa Valley. So it's almost like it's like a trademark thing. Napa Valley people have this pride and there is an aggressiveness behind that you would never think, but that's Napa Valley. It's all about wine and fruity tooty and, food and but there were a lot of great fighters that came out of Napa. Alright, okay, I'm going to cuss. I'm going to say a bad word. There's a friend of mine from high school that says this all the time. When you disrespect, people from Napa are very respectful. It's all about respect. They will respect you to the end of the earth. But the minute you disrespect them, they're going to look at you like, oh, really? Oh, okay. I'm from Napa, bitch. Watch this. When you go to Napa, you'll love it. People will treat you very well until you don't treat them well. And it's 100%, and we're all in. It's not like some of us. It's like when you come to our territory, you respect us, and you will have the greatest vacation of your life. You'll have the greatest trip of your life. You will be amazed at the beauty, at the culture. It is amazing. And growing up, I kind of was against it. I didn't really like this over-the-top attitude, but as I got into my 40s, I began to understand it's what makes Napa Valley Napa Valley. It makes that industry and that culture and the social and the families and the finances and money to go through the people. It's what makes that valley work. Now, when you go to Hawaii, there's a different pride. It's very prideful. They're very prideful people. And they have rules, and hey, this is the way you act when you're here, or else. And so I started noticing, you go to different areas, like they have their own way. So here's all I'm saying, whether it's a boyfriend, girlfriend that have different family values, relationship values, because this is what I learned from my parents, or my church, my way, this is the way, it's like, we went through a phase where everybody was calling everyone narcissist, and early on I thought, yeah, this is just not true. Not everyone's a narcissist, okay? Like, this is just, it was out of control. So the next level on Donkey Kong is avoidance. And here's the really tricky thing about avoidance. So I'm watching all these YouTube videos, listening to all these avoidants say, oh, well, the way you interact with an avoidant, and they have kind of this dismissive tone, and that's the thing right there. That's why they're called dismissive avoidants. They might as well be from Napa Valley. It's stuck up. It's this righteousness of I'm right and you're wrong and you need to learn and you need to change. And I'm thinking like, no, I don't need the data and avoid. But And all the people on these things are like, yeah, but they openly admit that they were growing up in toxic families. They have this toxic behavior. They do this breadcrumbing and all this stuff. And you're like, wait, they're openly admitting it and then saying, and we need to alter our behavior to them. And the 90% of the people on these chat boards on YouTube are saying, what the hell? This is insane. This is nuts. Like, what's going on? Like, this is toxic. So I've been holding on, holding out. I'm like, it's like I get this gut feeling like I have to be missing something. Something is there. There's a piece of the puzzle that is not being spoken, that's not being said, and I got it. We are all raised with different rules. We were all raised differently. You know, empaths became empaths because of the way they were treated. Avoidance became avoidance because, you know, they were taught you've got to rely on yourself. Don't open up to people. You know, that's weakness. Love is weak. You know, relying on people is weak. You know, it's like they have this way of these. And okay, one of the things I said revealed in the last video is they were literally taught by behavior, by watching their parents during the imprinting phase when they were infant till they're about 5, 6, 7 years old and after. But they imprinted that that breadcrumbing equals connection. I know, sounds nuts, doesn't it? So here's the thing: is this is something they learned. They didn't know was wrong. They're like, well, this is the way it is. Like, I don't understand. Watch my last video. That part I just said will make sense. We are, whether you're from the Middle East, whether you're from Ireland, whether you're from the mountain regions, the Hawaiian Islands, we have different ways for survival. And a lot of times we don't even know why we're doing what we're doing. It's historical. Oh, it's our culture. Why is it your culture? A lot of things that were cultural don't apply anymore because of medicine, because of the machines, because now we have farms and grocery stores, like all that stuff that you live by, like it doesn't apply, but it becomes locked and ingrained, and people don't even know they're doing it for any reason. They just know, like, well, this is the way I was raised. For example, I brought up the Mexican culture and south of the border is, you know, my Spanish teacher's from Mexico, is Senor Solis is what we had to call him, and he said, hey, we do this, you know, we were learning words, like, you know, like, what does the word siesta mean? Like, well, to me, it sounded like fiesta, which I believe means like party, you know, or celebration. And I said, oh, it's like a party, right? And he goes, no. He goes, siesta means rest. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, in Mexico, you know, we shut down our businesses. I think it was between 1 and 3 or 2 and 4 or something. I'm like, wait, why? He goes, you know how you guys have like a 1 hour lunch? He goes, well, we have like a 3 hour lunch. I'm like, what? And so to me and most Americans, we say, well, that's lazy. He's like, no, you don't understand. The temperature is so sweltering. It's so hot. He goes, you can't work. It's exhausting. So then I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And et cetera, et cetera. Well, now we have air. He goes, Michael, you know, you guys have air conditioners in every home, every school, every business, every car, blah, 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 blah. He goes, we don't have that. I was like, oh, okay. So it becomes a cultural thing. So let's say they get air conditioning and or they move to a climate where it's not as hot. They might still do that same cultural thing because, like, well, it's cultural. Not really realizing where it came from. All right, I'll give you an example. I learned this in Hawaii during this training where we were learning about other cultures. He said, does anyone here notice people from Southeast Asia, they don't hug? And I raised my hand like, yep, my ex-girlfriend does not hug at all. And we were talking about deep love strategies, okay? And I'm like, yep. And I'm a hugger. Now watch this. I'm Italian. Like a lot of people, not all, but we, like in my family, we were raised to hug. Like you go to grandma, literally, I am not joking. Aunts and uncles are on both sides of the door. Grandma's at the front, grandpa's at the front. Our cousins and relatives, it's like you walk through this gauntlet of kiss, hug, kiss, hug, kiss, hug, kiss, hug, kiss, hug, you know, and it's like, as a little kid, it was overwhelming. So I got smart. When we got to grandma's house, what I would do is I'd go around the back of the cars and I'd go to the backyard and I'd go up the back steps into the kitchen, into the house, so I didn't have to go through the gauntlet of kiss, hug, kiss, hug, kiss, hug. It was like, it was overwhelming to me. Yet, I'm a kinesthetic deep love strategy. I need to be hugged. That's just the way it is. If you're with me, you gotta hug me. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. So, I'm with this young lady. Well, we were both young. We were both in our 20s. And he said, do you know why they don't hug? And I said, oh yeah, she said it's part of their culture. And he kind of laughed. He goes, but why is it part of the culture? I'm like, I don't know. It's their culture. It's their belief. Believe it or not, but it came for a very good reason. Back there, they have a lot of humidity for a long period of time. Okay, a lot of moisture in there, and it's warm. The perfect environment for skin herpes to spread. And I don't want to like to say that word. And he said, but the difference now is we have antibacterial soaps, we have medication, we have this, we have that. So back in the day, like once an infant, see, when they have a little child, they hug and kiss it all the time, but only the mom and dad, and maybe the brothers and sisters, but that's it. But once it reaches the age of, I think they said 9 months or a year, no more, no hugging and no kissing anymore. And it was because they didn't want to spread this, okay? He goes, well, it doesn't really apply as much now because we have antibacterial, we have medication, we've got this, we've got that. He goes, and yet, so I went to her and I said, do you know why? And she's like, well, it's cultural. So after this training, I went and talked to her about it. And I said, no, and I told her why. And she's like, really? So she went to her mom, and her mom goes, yeah, he's right. That's why. In the Christian world, it's kind of funny because, Jesus came along and now we have a new way. We have a new book called the New Testament, or new series of books called the New Testament. And yet we try to live by the old ways that, according to Christ, don't apply anymore. And he's our Lord and Savior, and that we rarely listen to him. And that's just a fact. Remember eye for an eye? Well, we're not supposed to live by that anymore. Remember the 10 Commandments? Well, Jesus says love is the fulfillment of the commandments, and yet Christians will punish the shit out of you if you don't follow those commandments. And one of the rules, and the Christians say, oh, this is a sin, you're going to go to hell, is, well, don't eat shellfish, don't eat pork, because, God said so, that's the rule. Well, what we found out later on was, it was because it would kill you. It would poison you. It was toxic. It would either hurt you really bad or it would kill you. Okay, it would make you really, really sick and you'd die. Now we know how to clean shellfish. Now we can eat it. In fact, most of you on this channel, even if you're Christian, you've probably eaten seafood and shellfish your entire life and didn't think anything about it. And in the Old Testament it says God commands. You're not supposed to do that. And I bet a lot of you eat pork and bacon all the time. The reason why we can now is because it was a health hazard back then, because we didn't know how to cook or clean it correctly. So you pick and choose your rules that you're going to play by. Oh, you're a sinner, you're going to go to hell. Like, nope, that was just a rule to keep you alive so you wouldn't get sick and die. It wasn't some almighty God says if you do this, I'm sending you to hell. But that's what all these rules got turned into. No, these were health rules. These were personal development, like Tony Robbins. I'm telling you, it's exactly like Tony Robbins' personal development, NLP. These are just things that will improve your life, keep you healthy, so you can have a better life. It doesn't mean, oh, God's going to be mad, you're going to go to hell. And yet a lot of you are living by these rules blindly. Now I'm getting back to the avoidant thing here, because here's what's going on. So a lot of you will live by these rules. You'll condemn people, shame them, guilt them, and tell them they're a sinner and they're going to hell because they're living by a set of rules that they were raised by. And it's like, well, what are you talking about? Like, this is the way my culture is. This is the way our family is. Oh, that's different. You're wrong. It's not wrong. And you just got to look at the cultural, like where is this coming from? So avoidants are raised to be a certain way. Avoidants learned by birth, at birth, that breadcrumbing is how you connect with people. You give them a little tiny bit and you take off and you leave and you abandon them. You avoid them. You ghost them. To them, well, that's how you build a relationship. And it's kind of the running joke on the avoidant YouTube channels is, how do you deal with avoidant? Well, the way you deal with avoidant is you avoid the avoidant. Well, how do you know avoidant's in love with you? Well, when avoidant really likes you, they'll avoid you. How do you get an avoidant back into a relationship? Well, you avoid the avoidant. And it's kind of like this really weird, like, wait, this doesn't work for anyone. And that's the question I started this out earlier on in this video is, are you getting what you want out of life? So I'm going to repeat this again. Is it possible that are avoidance unconscious master teachers on how to heal our abandonment wounds and other wounds from childhood? And sometimes a wound, an emotional trauma wound, doesn't come from something that was done. It could come from something that wasn't done, such as being neglected, which is what happens to avoidants and other people. Is essentially their parents avoided them when they needed love, and over a period of time they're like, oh, okay, so giving them a little bit of attention, then they just like, hey, I don't want to deal with you, and they're like, oh, so that's how to have a relationship. You breadcrumb people, and that's what equals connection. So they literally believe and think, well, this is how you do it. It's not only a belief, I don't think they're consciously aware of it at all. It's an unconscious pattern that they have inside. Now, building up to a bigger purpose for all of this, because we are at a state of consciousness. We are at a level in the world, however you want to say it. And I'm going to break it down a little bit more, where it's time to let go of the old ways, whether it's the way you were raised in your family, whether it was the way you were raised in your country, your culture in the Middle East, Italy, and the mountains and in the Hawaiian Islands or wherever. We're starting to realize, like, wait a minute, these old cultural, this is cultural, these old beliefs are outdated, and they are not only holding us back, but they're causing a lot of pain, because we have always, part of the survival is, if we didn't live a certain way as a tribe or a group, we will die. And I'll give you a rule, and this is why people socially guilt and shame people. This whole social guilt and shame thing has got to let go, because you're doing that to hold on to the old way. All right, so this avoidant that I was connecting with for a while, dating for a while, she reminded me very much of my goddaughter, who's Vietnamese. So I would, basically I was in charge of, going to school, picking her up, going to her volleyball games, softball games, and we were coming home from, I believe it was a softball game. Sorry, I meant to say volleyball game, because it was dark, so it was probably winterish time. And I was taking her back to her mother's store where her father was waiting. He would get off work and they would wait there. And I noticed about 3 blocks. So, on the way home, let's say we had an hour drive because we had to go to another school, another city. So we're driving home 30, 40 minutes, whatever. And she was really talkative. She's born near the monkey. She's a Pisces, just great, loves to talk, blah, 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 blah. Great little time. And I noticed about 2.5 to 3 blocks before we would get to the parking lot where we were going to meet her parents, she would get really quiet, like really, really quiet. I mean, she would not only quiet, but just boom. It was like her facial expression became like a wall. She just closed up. And it kind of made me go, whoa, like I didn't notice it the first couple of times she did it. When I realized, like, wait, she's actually done this a few times before. And I'm like, what is this? And so I kind of thought, oh, did I say something wrong? Because now that was my issue at the time. Like, did I do something wrong? Okay, so her issue triggered my issue, and this is what we do as people all the time. That's another subject, but this is what we do. We tend to, and it's kind of part of this, not kind of, it's very much part of this video. So I was like, hey, did I say something wrong? And she wouldn't even look at me. She just stare forward. I'm like, Jesus, I must have said something really offensive. I'm thinking, like, what did I say? And so then it happened again. But this time I was waiting for it, and I was like, boom. And she just switched. I'm like, whoa, okay, that's weird. She went from open-hearted, emotional, creative, spiritual to just a brick wall. And I mean no emotion. Now, if you've dealt with Vietnamese people, if you know about their culture, the Vietnamese, the country was at war with everyone. It was America, and before that was France. I think before that England invaded them, and before that I think at one point Spain invaded them, and then the Chinese, etc., and the Japanese. I mean, this country had been at war for almost 100+ years with one country or another, with only maybe a year or two break in between. So the Vietnamese people became a very hardened people. So when she came back to her family, she would close up, and so one day, like, we were talking, and I said, hey, what is the deal? Like, are you mad at me? Did I say something wrong? She's like, no, not at all. And it was very congruent and very genuine. And I'm like, well, so why do you do it? She goes, I don't know. And and here's the thing, she probably didn't know. And one day she did it again. I go, right there, you just did it. Why aren't you talking to me? What did I say wrong? What? And she goes, you didn't do nothing. But her attitude was like harsh. From happy, friendly, kind, peaceful, gentle to boom, I didn't do nothing, like a soldier. No emotion. In order for that culture, those people to survive, they had to develop this hardened way of looking at life. Life is war. This is the way it is. This is reality. And for that country, for a long, long time, it was. So here this young girl was born and raised here, and one day she broke down and cried when I started talking to her about it. And she just said, she goes, you don't understand. You know, I was raised here and all my friends are Americans, and when I go to their families, they're loving and they hug and they hold each other and they laugh and they smile. But when I go home, it's the opposite. You have to have this wall. You can't show any emotions. And it was just a really traumatic thing. And it reminded me of my Laotian girlfriend. She went through the same thing one day. Okay, you know, I think the movie's called the Joy Luck Club. It's about these Asian women who are going through the same thing. And she had me watch this movie 10 times. And I'm like, we're going to watch that again? Oh, God. We kept going to Blockbuster and renting the same. I go, I've seen the movie. And she just goes, you don't understand. And I'm like, understand what? She goes, that's what my life is like. The Laotian girlfriend was saying the same thing. Her Laotian parents expect her to be Laotian, to be tough, to have this wall. But her American friends looked at her like she was weird when she was like that. So she had to do both sides. So when she went home, she had to switch back over to being Laotian, or my goddaughter, Vietnamese. So here we are, whether it is you were raised to be an avoidant, an empath, maybe, I hate to say this, but maybe even a narcissist, and maybe a Vietnamese or maybe Laotian or whatever, and you're in a different culture, and it's a different time. It's 2025. It is not the 60s. It is not the 50s. We are not at war. And yet we still carry these cultural beliefs, even if it's just people that were raised in America. You know, well, in our family, this is like, okay, my ex-girlfriend from high school, they may as well been British, living in Great Britain, the UK, and living under the crown and living in the castle. They acted like they were the kings and queens, and no emotion. That's another thing, no emotions. When her brother was killed in a car accident, they were immediately after the funeral, they were never allowed to even speak his name. He was never spoken of again. And the one thing my girlfriend loved about me was my emotions, my feelings, my happiness, my expression of love. And yet in her family, that was not okay. That was not okay. So I think the avoidants are the next level of Donkey Kong, the next level of life. They are teaching us, because we look at avoidance going, whoa, that, you know, they breadcrumbed me, whoa, they gaslighted me, whoa. They one thing they do, I call it, it's called fault finding, is they will look at anything you do or say and find fault in it, just like a narcissist. So now we're going, oh, they're narcissists, and now we're yelling at them, what's wrong with you? And you know, we're treating them like they're the worst person in the world, when actually they're just damaged people who have really soft hearts. So one of the things human beings have done because of our social beliefs, like in the Old Testament, in the Christian Bible, technically that's the Jewish, I forget the name of it, I can't remember, but it's, the old way was you had one husband and multiple wives who had multiple children, and literally, this was literally said in the church from God, is that this was considered the blessing upon the tribe, a blessing upon the entire community. Because here's why. Back in the Old Testament days, the more children you had, the more they added to the society, which means you have more population, more warriors, more soldiers, and you just had a bigger population, which meant another invading tribe couldn't come in and kill your people and take your land and or take your women and children. So this was considered the blessing, especially if you had more boys than girls. And yet nowadays, people would scream at you for even the thought of doing this. And like, well, wait a minute. Like, how do we go from this was a blessing from God on Most High, and now it's a sin? Like, make up your mind. What's going on here? What's going on here? Times have changed. We have nuclear bombs. You don't need a lot of people to fight in a war. I'm being sarcastic, but the fact of the matter is, war now is technological. Times have changed. And yet most of you are holding on. Even if you have just an American family, you were born here, your parents were born here, and their parents were born here, not came here. And yet you're still living by the way your culture is back in the Great Britain, the United Kingdom, the way it was back in 1415. Literally, a lot of you are living by rules that are so outdated. And I don't mean by 50 years or 100 or 200 years. I'm talking almost 1,000 years. I mean, my ex-girlfriend's family came here to America, and when I would go to their house, they would expect me to just automatically understand their social rules the way it is in Laos. And for example, one day, in fact, I think it was only the second day I'd ever been over there, and they were having like a little party, and I was invited. They wanted me to meet everybody, and everyone's sitting on the ground. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? What are they like? I didn't understand. There was one lady sitting on the couch, so I thought, okay, well, I'll just go sit on the couch, and holy shit. They all, and I mean all of them, especially her older sister, they screamed at me, "What's wrong with you, raw?" And I'm like, I don't understand. She's sitting on the couch. What are you mad about? I didn't understand. But they didn't have any understanding. They just screamed at me like I was this pariah. My point, number one, avoidants are not narcissists. They do things that are similar, but from the opposite perspective. My other point, you might be in a marriage right now and you're using these rules that come from 1842 or 1414 or 1320 that have just been passed down in your family lineage, and you're like, yeah, this is our culture, this is our heritage, and it's destroying your love, it's destroying your happiness. Here's a suggestion. Why not make up rules that work for both of you? Let's use avoidance as an example. To the avoidant, you've learned a lot of things that don't work for you, okay? You're not getting the love and joy and emotional fulfillment and meaningfulness out of any relationship at all, because when you get close to someone, what do? You run away. You avoid. How well is this working for you? It's not. A lot of what I do with people is I help them define their conflicting beliefs that are holding them back. Like, again, avoidance, it's just one example, because I guarantee you have these issues too. Not the same, but different issues. They have these what we call belief conflicts. On the one hand, I want to be loved. On the other hand, well, opening up to love is wrong. My family taught me, and then they take off. So it's like they ping pong. They go towards what they want, and then they run away from it. And it's this constant, nonstop thing. Fortunately, there is a series of techniques that help you to heal this parts separation and then to begin to integrate. Sorry, I meant to say parts conflict. Once you heal the conflict, these two parts that are separate, that go in two different directions, now become one part, and both of those powers come together as one, and now you can go towards what you want in a healthy, aligned way. So instead of fighting against yourself, which drains you, instead of feeling tired, exhausted, and drained, and here's what happens. You ping pong in your forehead, and you think, well, this part says this, well, yeah, but this part says this, and you go back and forth, and it's a never-ending ping pong, and it is exhausting. And here's the thing. No matter how much you think about it, it will never end. That ping pong, let me think about it this way, let me think about it that way. It'll never end until you integrate those two parts and heal them. And then they become one, and now there's no ping pong. Now you are rested, at peace, and you have clarity. We literally have a technique called parts integration. You can heal. So avoidance are the master teachers indirectly. They take us to the next level of realizing not everyone's a narcissist. Not everyone's bad because their culture is different. The next level is not only to stop and realize that, but to be conscious of, well, where are you coming from? Why do you believe this? And what does this mean to you? In other words, why not come together? Okay, I'm gonna use avoidance as an example, okay? Why not let's sit down, let's come together, and let's talk and go, hey, wait a minute. Are these unconscious strategies and beliefs that you are using from childhood, are these working for you? Are you truly getting what you want out of this relationship? Are you truly happy, emotionally fulfilled, mentally stimulating, and do you truly feel love and joy in this connection? If not, why don't we do this? Why don't the two of us sit down together and make up our own rules? Let's make it to where you and I can be happy together. I do not mean, well, let's sacrifice and suffer. Well, I'm going to sacrifice my happiness for you so we can be together. No, I mean, let's create a set of rules. Like, what do you want out of life? What do I want out of life? How can we see? Here's what I believe. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, there's no question about it. My gut instinct, my gut, everything in my body is telling me, you two were brought together because you were supposed to create a new set of rules that worked for both of you, that gave you everything you wanted out of life. All you have to do is sit down and just be consciously aware of, like, yeah, this look, well, okay, when I work with clients, the number one thing that I realize with everyone is they have these unconscious strategies that they learned at a very young age, whether it was from their parents, a baseball coach, a teacher, who knows, a best friend, maybe an auntie or grandma that everyone looks up to, who said, okay, like, when I was a kid, my mom used to blurt out all the time, the more money you have, the more stress you have. And I took that belief on. Man, that belief does not work with me, because you need money to pay the bills, you need money for food, but the more money I'd make, literally the more stress I would get, and I would literally run away from it. Trust me, that does not work, and I changed it. What if the two of you came together and you decided to make up your own rules and beliefs and values that work for the two of you? Because here's the deal, on an unconscious level, on a core level, your heart and emotions came together because you already have the same values. You already have the same beliefs. Now, I'm not talking about the ones you were taught on a logical level that your parents taught you. Here's the way it is, and this is breadcrumbing and blah. No, I'm talking about what brought you together, because those things are not what brought you together. Your emotional connection is what brought you together, and that's the level you were meant to live on, that you were supposed to live on in the first place. Not on some old, outdated, pre-programmed DNA family lineage thing that dates all the way back to 1415. We are not living in the survival era anymore. We have abundance, food, machines, cars, gasoline, planes, trains. It's time for you to live an abundant life. It's time to have a loving, happy, pleasurable relationship where the both of you absolutely enjoy being together. Get more out of your life. God bless you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this video helped you to shift your perspective in even a tiny way. If you enjoyed this video, please click subscribe, click the like button, and go ahead and leave a comment. And remember, if you want, you can go ahead and leave a donation. There's a PayPal link right there in the description box. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.